Every month, a new skincare ingredient promises to be the next big thing, and it's so easy to get caught up in trying them all, but there's actually one classic compound that's outlasted all the trends, and that is tretinoin. Many decades of research back tretinoin's ability to treat acne, reduce wrinkles, and even out skin tone. So today, I'm sharing my 6-month journey with this powerhouse ingredient to see how my sensitive skin handles it, and if I think it's worth keeping in a skincare routine long term. Let's get started. This video is sponsored by Element. Hey guys, it's Robin and welcome to the Science of Self-Care. On this channel, we talk about health science, we talk about life philosophy, and we do a whole lot of self-care experimentation. I'm so excited for today's video because we're finally gonna get into the details of my tretinoin experience. Tretinoin is something I've been so interested in for many, many years. I was a little bit nervous, but spoiler alert, I kind of love it and I've had such positive experience. So in this video, we're gonna talk about what the heck tretinoin is, why I'm using it. We're gonna talk about my personal experience with it, what I've noticed in my skin, and how I use it. We're gonna walk through my skincare routine. And then we're gonna end off talking about a few tretinoin best practices so that you can avoid some of the negative side effects like dryness, irritation, and sensitivity. So first off, what the heck is tretinoin? Tretinoin is a prescription strength form of vitamin A. So vitamin A used for skincare. This class of compounds is called retinoids, and tretinoin is the strongest one, also known as retinoic acid. And retinoic acid can bind directly to our skin cells and cause a bunch of different changes in our skin because our skin cells actually have retinoic acid receptors. Retinol, on the other hand, which is an over-the-counter form of a retinoid that many of you probably know about, retinol first has to be converted to retinaldehyde, and then that retinaldehyde is converted to retinoic acid. So there's a few steps that have to happen before a topical retinol can actually become retinoic acid and bind to our skin cells and induce all of these positive changes that we associate to vitamin A. So because tretinoin is kind of the strongest bioactive form, it also means it's very potent, and you start with a tiny amount because it can be incredibly irritating if you use too much in the beginning. But before we get into the details of tretinoin, let me just talk about retinoids in general. What does putting vitamin A on our skin do for our skin? There's a number of benefits, actually quite a wide range, which makes vitamin A products so exciting. Retinoids were traditionally developed as an acne treatment, but over time we've come to realize that as so many other skin firming, wrinkle reducing, hyperpigmentation reducing benefits. So what's actually happening when we put vitamin A on our skin? Firstly, topical vitamin A increases the cell turnover rate. So our skin has a natural cycle where young cells will start at the base of the epidermis and they will work their way up and flake off. And this cycle can take anywhere from 4 to sometimes 5 weeks to kind of go up and flake off. That's how we get new and renewed skin constantly. Well, when we increase the cell turnover rate, this is happening more quickly, and this can start to reveal younger looking, more plump, exfoliated skin. It can also help improve wound healing because we're basically renewing our skin more quickly. And it can also reduce acne. So it's a very exciting feature of topical vitamin A because it kind of does really give us newer, younger skin because of that increased cell turnover. Topical vitamin A also stimulates collagen production and reduces collagen degradation. And this helps our skin stay plump, firm, and have structure and reduce wrinkles in our skin. Tretinoin is arguably the best topical wrinkle reducer ever. It has lots of amazing research behind it. And I've definitely noticed on myself, I feel like fine lines, even around my eyes, which I put a little bit of tretinoin there. It looks a lot better. Topical vitamin A can actually increase the thickness of our epidermis. This is something that naturally our skin thins as we age. I also am someone who has naturally very thin skin. You can always see everything through my skin, whether I'm blushing or I'm hot or I'm cold. And it's been very interesting because I do feel like my skin is now thicker. It doesn't get damaged as easily, and you can't see everything through my skin like you used to be able to. Topical vitamin A also increases the formation of blood vessels in our skin, which can make our skin look nicer, but also speed up wound healing because our skin is better vascularized. Anytime we're improving blood flow to a region, it's typically going to be healthier and look healthier. Topical vitamin A can also reduce sebum production in our skin. So for people who have very oily, acne-prone skin, this can be a lifesaver. I definitely have acne prone and very oily skin, and I've noticed my skin just is a lot more in balance right now. It is not as excessively oily, and I know I still always look oily on camera. Guys, I'm just oily and sweaty all the time, but in general my skin feels a lot more balanced and I just feel like I have more normal skin. Topical vitamin A can also help regulate melanin production in our skin, so it's great to even out our skin tone and reduce hyperpigmentation and lighten any dark spots we might have. Also something I've definitely noticed, my skin is more even toned. And lastly, it can just have all around anti-inflammatory properties, especially with things like acne or lesions that are typically raised, red, and inflamed. This can really bring down the inflammation. Obviously, in the beginning, when introducing a retinoid to the skin, there can be some increased sensitivity and some increased redness, but after that subsides, generally retinoids are anti-inflammatory. And I know you're not supposed to do this, but I actually put a tiny bit of my tretinoin cream on a friend's pimple that was kind of inflamed and raised and red, and used it as a little bit of a spot treatment. And after one day, it was just completely calmed down. It was like the inflammation was taken out of it, and it was amazing to see. So I know you're not supposed to share prescription formulas, but I did that and I don't regret it. Something really important to note is that people who are pregnant or breastfeeding should not be using any form of topical vitamin A. It can interfere with a child's development, and there's just not enough research to consider it safe to use during pregnancy or breastfeeding. So something to note. Okay, now let's get into my personal tretinoin journey. Firstly, how have I gotten my hands on tretinoin? Tretinoin is available through prescription only. There are other over-the-counter forms of vitamin A like adapalene and retinol that you can just get at a drugstore, but tretinoin is kind of the holy grail, and I've been wanting to try it. I actually got my tretinoin through a company called Agency, which sets you up with a dermatologist. You kind of have a whole onboarding, you share pictures, you share things about your skin and take a whole quiz, and then a dermatologist will create a custom formula for you. I think it's very important for me to state this video is not sponsored by Agency. I am a paying, happy customer. Agency doesn't know I exist. This is just me sharing my experience. Another thing to note about this is that this is a formula of several different ingredients that includes as its hero ingredient tretinoin, but there's also dexpanthenol, tranexamic acid, niacinamide. So in theory, everything I share in this video should be taken with a grain of salt because there's too many variables and confounding factors and other skincare ingredients that make it impossible to say what I'm experiencing right now is fully due to tretinoin. I also do other things outside of topical skincare. For example, I use red light therapy, and I've been experimenting with a bunch of different masks as part of a coming video. I also, in July, had a photo facial at a clinic, so kind of a clinic grade photo facial to help even my skin tone in preparation for my wedding in August. So that's another thing that'll change the appearance of my skin. So take everything in this video with a grain of salt. Too many confounding factors, but I really wanted to share my experience because I am someone with sensitive, rosacea-prone skin that was very nervous to introduce tretinoin because of the potential side effects. Tretinoin has research to back it up as an effective treatment for rosacea, but there's also instances of it actually exacerbating rosacea because it can cause increased skin sensitivity. So I wanted to share my personal experience, share the benefits that I've noticed that are probably due to the cocktail of things that I do, and also share at the end of this video, as I mentioned, some best practices that I believe have helped me avoid any issues using tretinoin. So first off, I started at a very low amount of tretinoin. I started at 0.009% strength tretinoin. And the reason is because tretinoin is so potent, it is so strong, and it can be irritating. Another thing to note is that I had been using retinols prior to introducing tretinoin, so my skin has already been used to having topical vitamin A on my skin. Specifically, I was using this formula, AVST Moisturizer Step Up System by Environ. I love Environ. I think it's a an underrated South African skincare brand, not sponsored, but this is what my skin has been used to using. So introducing tretinoin was not completely foreign to my skin. It was already used to an over-the-counter form of vitamin A. Still, I started very slowly at a very low amount and typically introduce it not using it every night and then build up to using it every night. But I've found that I've been able to start using it on a daily basis relatively quickly every single time I step up my strength, but I've been going very slowly. So right now it's been over 6 months and I'm still at 0.015% tretinoin. So this bottle is my next bottle. When I introduce this stronger version, I'll probably take little breaks. I'll do every other night until I really feel confident using it on a daily basis. So 6 months out, I have noticed a number of changes in my skin. Firstly, I really do feel like my epidermis is thicker and my skin itself is stronger and more resilient. If I scratch my skin, if it becomes injured, if I have an acne spot, it's not as deep or it's not as intense. Also, I don't blush as much or rosacea flare up as much because I think my skin is literally thicker. If you've been following my channel for a while, you might know that I have a history of struggling with digestive issues, and those digestive issues in the past have caused acne breakouts and rosacea flare-ups. And so kind of bodily inflammation has really tended to show up on my skin. The incredible thing is that even now, if I get sort of a flare-up of bodily inflammation, it just won't show up on my skin as much. So I might get a pimple here or two. I might get a little bit more rosacea due to inflammation in my body, but it's way less, my skin is way less reactive on the whole and more resilient. It's amazing. I just feel like my skin is so much less sensitive. It looks less sensitive. I'm so happy. I can go raving on, but it's just really been notable. My skin feels smoother. My acne is just so under control. And honestly, I feel like this is the best place my skin has been in since my preteen days, baby-like skin. That's what my skin feels like now. And I also feel like if there is ever an injury, an acne spot, anything, it just heals so super duper quickly. My skin is even toned and bright. Sometimes I feel like I can tell when someone is on a strong form of vitamin A because their skin has this even brightness that just screams tretinoin to me. And even people with deeper skin tones, there's just this even lightness. Maybe it's also the plumpness, maybe it's a bunch of other things that I'm noticing, but I feel like I can tell when someone is on tretinoin. Maybe this is all my head, but I'll post a few examples of the type of skin I'm talking about. Is it just me, or is there kind of a tretinoin skin look? I think another major benefit for me has been the reduction in oiliness of my skin. Again, I have naturally oily skin, so maybe this is one of the reasons I've enjoyed tretinoin so much, because dryness has not really been an issue for me. I know some people, especially if you tend to have drier skin, can get really, really dry skin when you start to introduce topical vitamin A. It can sometimes become flaky and irritated looking. That has not happened to me at all, and perhaps that's because I have oily skin, so I can't speak to people with dry skin. But in the end, I'm going to touch on a few commonly dermatologist recommended tips and tricks to help mitigate some of the negative effects of tretinoin. Now let's take a little moment to actually go look at my skin close up without anything on it. I do have tinted moisturizer, sunscreen, concealer, and makeup on now, but let's go take this off and I'll also show you what I do step by step for my skincare routine right now, incorporating tretinoin through the Future Formula by Agency. All right, skincare time. So just to be clear, this is my nighttime routine. I filmed this early in the morning for brighter natural light. I'm actually not fully awake yet in this footage, but you get the idea. I just want to be clear that this is what I'd normally do before bed. All right, so let's say I just cleansed my skin in the shower, which is what I do every night. Then I will go in with a little essence type cocktail that I've been making. I'm such a fan of essences and watery first steps that are very common in Korean skincare. And this is the combo I've currently been using. I've been kind of making my own thing, taking pure glycerin and mixing it with hypochlorous acid spray. And it has been so amazing at keeping redness at bay. I really think this is such a basic combination that probably will work with most sensitive skin types. Dr. Idriss is a wonderful dermatologist here on YouTube who has spoken at length about how glycerin is a smaller humectant molecule than hyaluronic acid, like physically smaller. So it can actually penetrate the skin more deeply, and it's also less likely to be irritating to sensitive skin. So that's why I've been playing around with glycerin more, and I really like it. Okay, so Essence Cocktail is on, check. If you have any calming, soothing serums that you want to add into your routine, now would be the time to do it. I've kept this demo quite simple, so I'm skipping a serum and I'm moving straight on to the active moment, putting on the actives, which is, in this case, the Future formula containing Tretinoin by Agency. I'm starting with a pea-sized amount and spreading that across the face. And over the course of many weeks, as my skin becomes more tolerant to a specific tretinoin concentration, then I'll start doing more than a pea-sized amount. I might do 2 pea-sized amounts, but just starting small and slowly working your way up is really the key to not getting overly sensitized from tretinoin. And believe me, a little bit goes a long way. This stuff is really potent. So after Tretinoin, I will go in with a simple moisturizer, and this one is from Vanicream. It is cheap and sensitive skin safe. It's not the most deeply moisturizing cream I've ever used, but it works for my skin. I don't have super dry skin, so it's fine. But if you do have dry skin, this might not give you all the moisture you're looking for. But I still think if you have sensitive skin that it's worth a shot. Okay, after moisturizer, I will finish my skin off with a zinc face paste, aka applying zinc oxide cream as a leave-on mask all over my face. And I actually combine these 2 different products. They're both fragrance-free zinc oxide diaper creams. And I just combine them because I like them both together more than either one on their own. This is totally unnecessary. You can just use one of these. But I'm sharing both because one is more readily available in Europe and one is more readily available in the United States. So whichever fragrance-free zinc oxide diaper cream you can get your hands on, that's usually going to work for this. I really love this face basting step. I know it looks a little cuckoo, but it's just, it works. And that's pretty much it. Then I am all ready for bed, easy peasy. Another way I love to support the health and happiness of my skin is to make sure that my body is deeply well hydrated. And my absolute favorite way to do that is with Element Electrolytes, the sponsor of today's video. I have been such a die-hard Element fan for long before they ever sponsored a YouTube video of mine, and I will continue to repurchase these because they just really work. They're high quality ingredients. There's no filler and extra stuff you don't need. It's just the perfect ratio of sodium to potassium to magnesium, sweetened with a hint of stevia, and it just tastes so good. I use this every single time I do hot yoga, anytime I go for a hot sweaty walk. I also like to use them anytime I sauna. Basically, I go through many of these a week and they keep my body balanced and hydrated. I don't have any sort of muscle cramps or headaches that can sometimes be associated to when your electrolytes are out of balance. I definitely used to experience those in the past. So if you're someone who does a lot of sweaty workouts, you really want to deeply hydrate your body, I definitely recommend checking out Element. Right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. That's 8 single serving packets free with any Element order. This is a great way to try 8 of their flavors or share Element with a salty friend. Get yours at drinkelement.com/selfcare. This deal is only available through my link, so you have to go to drinklmnt.com/selfcare. Now let's get back to all things skincare and tretinoin. Okay, we are back from skincare time. I now want to run through a few tips and tricks that I've personally used to help mitigate the negative effects of tretinoin, the negative side effects. First off, I think I need to repeat something I've already said in this video, but the number one thing is to start very, very slowly. Introduce vitamin A products so very slowly. Cycle them on and off if you need to. You can get to a point where you're using them daily, but just any time that you feel like your skin is becoming sensitive, don't be afraid to take a little break. Use your skin tuition. Another thing I really love to do often is A/B test things on my face. So if you're debating whether one moisturizer is more moisturizing than another, or if you're uncertain if putting an essence is going to be more irritating with tretinoin, try it on only half your face and keep the other half of your face kind of the same baseline routine that you've been using. And in this way, you can quickly see how your skin is reacting to things, and you can develop a very strong intuition for what your skin likes, and you can iterate to create your perfect routine. That's how I've gotten to my current skincare routine. It's just a process of trial and error. But for me personally, it has worked wonders to just start at a very low amount, go slowly, and to moisturize and zinc oxide face-based. One thing dermatologists will recommend to avoid irritation, which I actually don't do, is apply tretinoin to dry skin. So if you are especially concerned about irritation, applying tretinoin to dry skin can keep the tretinoin from going more deeply and penetrating your epidermis more deeply. I actually love my little essence cocktail. Putting that on first, I'll let it dry a little bit, but then adding the tretinoin. And by having a little bit of moisture, it does help the tretinoin penetrate my skin more deeply, and in theory be a little bit more effective. I like doing this because it has not irritated my skin. My skin has been extra glowy and amazing since introducing this step. But if you are concerned about irritation, it's commonly recommended by dermatologists to apply tretinoin to dry skin. One great tip that I've heard here on YouTube from Dr. Dray is to try contact therapy as another way to slowly introduce your skin to strong vitamin A products. So for example, instead of leaving tretinoin on for the entire night, you can actually create a mask. You can put tretinoin on your face, leave it for 15 to 20 minutes, and then wash it off, do the rest of your skincare, and go to bed. And if you do that consistently a few times, your skin has a chance to get a little bit of exposure to vitamin A, contact therapy, and build up a little bit of a tolerance for it. And then you can start to actually wear vitamin A products like tretinoin through the night. So I thought that was a great tip from Dr. Dray. Thank you so much. Love her channel. Great resource for all things skincare. Another key thing that I make sure I'm always doing when using topical vitamin A is to protect my skin from the sun. That means wear SPF, reapply SPF, wear a sun hat, and also use my sun umbrella. I know sun umbrellas are a little bit not a cultural norm in North America, but they're amazing. They're so breezy. I love them better than a hat, actually. It's a little portable piece of shade. But the reason why sun protection is so important on vitamin A is that topical vitamin A products actually make our skin more sensitive to UVA and UVB radiation. So we gotta protect that skin that's looking beautiful if we don't wanna actually cause more damage. I always make sure to have lots of various forms of sun protection and to generally stay out of direct sun when I can. And I live in a very sunny area, so that's not always easy. Another thing that I've done to really help mitigate any negative side effects is to avoid any other types of chemical or physical exfoliants in my routine. So I let the Future formula do all the heavy lifting of my skincare. I do sometimes use vitamin C in the morning, which can be an irritating active, but all other things, AHAs, BHAs, physical exfoliation pens. This one from the Light Salon is actually an amazing nanodermabrasion machine, but on tretinoin, I don't use it because I don't want to do anything that's going to potentially further sensitize my skin. So I keep my skincare routine very simple, very calming, and I kind of love it because it's just made skincare so simple and also cost effective. I feel like before using tretinoin, I would often hear about some very exciting skincare ingredient that was going to change my life and I wanted to try it. But now that I know that I'm using the best of the best, gold standard, research-backed tretinoin, I feel very confident in just not doing anything else complicated with my skin. Vanicream Moisturizer, so cheap, so simple, so effective. I love it. And probably the best tip of all is to just continue to consult with your dermatologist to make sure you're getting expert information from your doctor. I have actually recently consulted with my agency dermatologist because in the next few years, I'd like to become pregnant and become a mother. So that's something I wanted to already ask about. Will he be able to create a formula for me that doesn't have any vitamin A and everything else stays the same? And she said, yes, he can basically make a future formula for me without any vitamin A in it so that it's pregnancy safe. And I'm actually really excited for this moment, even though I will miss the vitamin A in my skincare routine. I'm excited to see what happens if I keep my entire skincare routine the same, but I just remove all the vitamin A. I'm curious what will happen. Will my skin totally regress? Will it stay the same? That will be such a much more telling moment of what tretinoin is actually doing and not doing for my skin, because all the other factors will be staying the same. So when and if I become pregnant and I remove all vitamin A from my skincare, but keep the rest the same, I will definitely let you know if I see any changes. In general, I'm so happy with tretinoin. I'm so happy with this future formula, and I can highly recommend it. Just know this is not the most cost-effective way to use tretinoin. You can get tretinoin through your dermatologist, and it can even be covered by insurance. So tretinoin and retinoids in general do not have to be expensive. This is a pricier option. I personally really like the customization element. I just like that I have access virtually to a dermatologist through a chat, and they're helping make this custom formulation. One more thing I want to mention, Lab Muffin Beauty Science actually made a great video comparing different types of retinoids and made an interesting point about how the actual formula that the retinoids are sitting in makes such a difference for the delivery and the penetration of the retinoid, perhaps even more so than the exact concentration percentage. So through this lens, perhaps this review is more of a review of the future formula than pure tretinoin, but what I can say is that my experience has been overwhelmingly positive, and I do like that there's so much control over this formula. So if at any moment I'm not enjoying something, my dermatologist can actually just change it. I would love to know if you've tried tretinoin, if you've tried other forms of topical vitamin A, like adapalene. I personally have tried adapalene in the past. I didn't like it very much. I liked retinol better than adapalene, and I liked tretinoin better than retinol. I don't know if it was that I introduced adapalene too suddenly, but my skin did not like it. Anyways, share your vitamin A stories with us down below. Questions, comments. I learned so much from you guys. I actually think I learned about Agency Future Formula in the comment section of another video on YouTube. I love the comment section, so please contribute your knowledge and your questions. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.